Hello, I am Dr. Amy Boza, the Director of English Language Arts and Move On When Reading. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about the Every Student Succeeds Act and how educators across the state can ensure their practices are based on evidence, as the intent of ESSA is evident in all schools.
Welcome back to our ESSA video series. I am Sarah Bondi, ADE's K-3 Early Literacy Specialist, and in today's video number 3, we're going to review the continuous improvement cycle and how it applies within the K-3 Move On When Reading plan.
And hi, I'm Dr. Lene Dunn, the Deputy Director of the Regional Educational Laboratory West, REL West at WestEd, and a partner to ADE in this work.
Each year, schools submit to ADE a comprehensive literacy plan and triannual literacy assessment data. The online Mauer portal allows the ELA team to review these plans and data and provide feedback. However, the Mauer portal and the action of reporting this information is only one piece of the larger puzzle. Even in the alternate years, when not all schools are required to submit to ADE, all schools should thoughtfully consider the steps of continuous improvement to support the identified needs of learners. These steps include a yearly review process of data analysis, strategic planning, program evaluations, and decisions for improvement. Improvement cycles are a natural part of a school growth process, and focus on identifying needs in literacy is an important element in the overall improvement cycle. Lene is going to introduce a tool that they have created at WestEd, which can significantly support this process.
Thank you, Amy. An evidence-based decision-making approach helps educators continually use and reflect on data and evidence to inform decisions. At WestEd, we developed a guide to help educators engage in an evidence-based improvement process. You can find the guide at the website listed here and on the ADE Mauer Administrators page. This guide is not aimed at informing isolated decisions. Rather, it's meant to support evidence-based decision-making as part of a larger continuous improvement process. As we say in the guide, completion of the tools should not be a goal in and of itself. Use of this guide is not a checklist exercise. Instead, we encourage you to use the tools as conversation starters. An organizing premise of the guide is that effective evidence-based decision-making should be embedded within a continuous improvement framework. We present a framework that's comprised of 5 main components that work together to guide and support improvement efforts with evidence-based decision-making right at the center, at the heart. Note that we do not claim that this is the framework. It's simply an organizer that continues and contains all elements of a solid process. The steps also align with the 5 steps outlined in the U.S. Department of Education's non-regulatory guidance on the ESSA evidence provisions, which was explored more in video 2. Each step is important in a continuous improvement process. While you can enter the process at any step, the 5 steps build on each other and overlap, where you may start the next step before the previous one is completed, which is represented by the blending of colors in the graphic. The process is designed to be cyclical, where you continuously move through the steps to improve implementation and outcomes.
As Lene described, the purpose of the guide is not to serve as a checklist, rather guide school leaders through conversations guided by evidence-based decision-making. The Move On When Reading Literacy Plan and Literacy Assessment Data Submissions are intended to serve the same purpose. The individual needs of each school drive this entire process. Therefore, it is important to reevaluate the literacy plan each year. Even after step 5, analyze, continued refinement, growth, and evaluation takes place to determine how well strategies and practices are working within your context and what modifications may be needed. The literacy plan itself provides a structure to approach an improvement cycle to approach K-3 literacy.
So we're going to walk you through that cycle and how the literacy plan maps onto it. Starting with inform, that evidence-based improvement should be grounded in local needs. What does the data indicate are the high priority needs? This is reflected in the inform step of the process.
Additionally, prior to any new school year, ideally in April and May, administrators and/or literacy teams on each campus should evaluate their current needs. This could be based on end of year summative data, teacher capacity, and/or teacher knowledge. First and foremost, what are the needs represented? The approach to each year's literacy plan should be ultimately be driven by data.
After you have a grasp of the needs, you select or identify evidence-based strategies, curricula, and interventions to address those needs and fit your local context.
Once the local needs have been identified, school leadership and respective literacy teams have the responsibility each year of selecting and or reviewing core curricula, targeted intervention programs, assessment tools, and professional development. It may be decided to continue what is already in place or to adopt something new. And these selections are reported to the Move On When Reading team via the Literacy Plan portal.
Next, you plan how to implement those strategies effectively. What kind of support, such as professional learning, materials, collaboration time, etc., do you need to carry out the strategy selected in the previous step?
It is helpful to purposely consider how the plan will be implemented. This takes into consideration planning for human and financial capital, as well as associated training needed to facilitate meeting targeted goals. This plan should include timelines and topics for professional learning, coaching, materials, supports, and other items. This step takes a thoughtful and collaborative approach and time prior to the new school year beginning to ensure success for all teachers and students.
During the implementation step, you reflect on how well the program is working in your context using formative data. If you're not getting the desired results, you may need to make mid-course corrections to your implementation.
By October 1st, which is the annual due date for the literacy plan submission, schools are already several months into this implementation step. Most importantly, making formative adjustments as they go. Educators will need to ensure that the interventions are being carefully implemented as was planned in the previous step. At the same time, administration carefully inspects the implementation and fidelity of the use of curricular tools with which they were designed and intended. This may determine needed coaching, ongoing support, and/or further training. The Mauer Literacy Plan is intended to reflect the practices throughout the course of an entire school year. However, it is understood and expected that those practices may change based on this improvement cycle, and mid-year corrections may result in a revised literacy plan. This is informed by the beginning of the year and that mid-year literacy assessment data, those submissions, which are also due to ADE. This screening data can ultimately redirect a plan based on student need.
In the analyze step, you take a more summative approach to assess results and consider how effective the strategy is in your setting. Are you getting the outcomes you set out to achieve?
Included in the literacy plan is embedded third grade ASEAN2 data for the past 3 years. This summative data can help determine effectiveness of implementation. In addition to that beginning of the year, as well as the mid-year screening submissions, there's an end of the year screening data, which is submitted by June 1st. This is an added opportunity to really reflect on the effectiveness of strategies implemented and consider any new needs that might have emerged.
Now that we've broken apart each step in the process and mapped on where literacy plan uses those steps, we want to revisit the full cycle and share 6 tools from the guide to support you in developing an evidence-based decision-making approach. We want to give you an overview of these tools and encourage you to check them out to assist you in your planning. Again, you can find the link to the guide right here on the slide. Tool 1 at the state level or 2 at the LEA level guides a state or district to take stock of its current practice around continuous improvement in order to identify potential gaps or areas for adjustment, especially around where evidence-based decision-making fits in. Tool 3 at the SEA level or 4 at the LEA level provides an opportunity for a state or district to reflect on how it will provide guidance on evidence-based interventions. Tool 5 provides a way to review and compare studies about a strategy or intervention to assess the body of evidence for that strategy or intervention. In a subsequent video in the series, we'll demonstrate its use. Tool 6 helps you compare interventions and consider the degree to which a particular intervention fits your context. We'll highlight this tool in a subsequent video in the series as well. As a set, these tools are designed to help you reflect on and use evidence all along the way to inform your decisions and ultimately support improvements in student achievement. The process is designed to be cyclical, where you continuously move through the steps to improve implementation and outcomes.
Thanks again for watching video 3, the Continuous Improvement Cycle, Evidence-Based Improvement. Please reach out to any one of us if you want further information or need additional support with your LEA's Continuous Improvement Cycle. We hope you continue watching this series with video 4, using evidence for ESSA and What Works Clearinghouse to research programs. See you next time.